Mental Health, the Up&Up. We're trying to make mental health care clear, helpful, and maybe even fun. We're chatting with licensed therapists, but this is not therapy. These are simply thoughts and ideas for you to discuss with your own therapist and to help you on your journey of complete wellness. And welcome back to Mental Health, the Up&Up. I am Anna, your host, and I am here with Geraldine Peterson, licensed mental health counselor. And we are here to share ideas about mental health that are clear, helpful, and maybe even fun. Quick disclaimer, Geraldine is a therapist, but this is not therapy. We are just here to share ideas and help spur you and encourage you on your mental health journey. So today, we're going to delve into anxiety a little bit more because it's one of those big subjects that a lot of us struggle with. As a layman with anxiety, it gets very, very frustrating trying to figure out how to help myself and how to interact with the world without feeling like a scared little mouse. So, yeah.
So
Previously, we talked specifically about panic attacks and anxiety attacks and how to help yourself when you're at this level versus this level versus this level of being overwhelmed.
Yeah, so anxiety. Yikes. Am I going to make any mistakes in this video?
What could go wrong?
Which actually leads me into the first point, which is anxiety is very normal, and not only very normal, helpful. Because if you had no anxiety, if I had no anxiety, I'd come into this recording kind of going like, yeah, whatever, anxiety, I probably know what to talk about. Whereas since I'm a little anxious, I took notes. And so anxiety is very normal, and it's not a negative thing or a bad thing. Like most things, if it gets too overwhelming, it's a bad thing. Just like everything else, water can be a bad thing if you drink too much. So anything can feel uncomfortable or be problematic if it just gets too big.
So something you said that really helped me to understand what was happening within myself and to cope better just by putting things in perspective is you explained anxiety as the triggering of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. It's that fear response that tells you you need to do something or not do anything. And it's really interesting to think about it in that perspective, just going through your day-to-day life, because when you're going to the grocery store, you wouldn't think that that should trigger your survival instincts, but it does, at least for me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about that of, oh, this is a survival instinct. I mean, okay, if we really take it back that far, I'm hunter-gathering, and so I'm out into the wilderness of Winco, Costco, Walmart, and trying to find what I need to provide for my family and get home.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Super common, reasonable, historic, and useful.
Yeah.
Like even in little things, anxiety can help a lot. And for big things, for goodness sakes, we should have some anxiety. I say, like, if I went bungee jumping and I weren't nervous, I probably wouldn't be safe. And on the same scale, if I go shopping without a shopping list, I might forget something. So before I go shopping, I actually make a list and I actually go over it to say, okay, what did I forget? What did I forget?
So, now I had a thought and it left. It was there. It was
Anxiety.
Right there. Anxiety. I know that within society, and we are getting much better about just talking about mental health and how our brains works as a society across the board. We're doing them a lot better than we used to do. But I know that anxiety tends to be thought of or portrayed in media as aberrant
Mhm.
singular moment, this
Yeah.
one thing that happened to you. And it's almost, honestly, actually, the way anxiety is portrayed in media tends to be more what trauma and PTSD is in a lot of
Mhm.
respects. Um, so maybe we can clarify, like we said, it is your survival instincts kicking in, but
Mhm.
maybe we can clarify the differences between a trauma response versus anxiety, because they are very, very closely linked.
Mhm. And I would say the biggest, difference is literally size, like or
Okay.
intensity, like we were saying
Yeah.
before. This level, that level,
Mhm.
if I'm anxious about driving and I just say, "Oh, I better put on my seatbelt," that's a very
Yeah.
low level. If I'm anxious about driving, "Oh, I need to put on my seatbelt," and then a dog runs out in front of me,
Mhm.
that could trigger a mini panic attack.
Yeah.
Uh, and what happens in panic is we tend to zero in more on whatever's happening,
Yeah.
which again, if we're being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, we should be zeroing in on that saber-toothed tiger. A dog runs in front of the car, we do need to focus on that. And even when you a minute ago said, "Oh, I thought of something. Oh, I lost it." That's actually a little bit of anxiety, like, "Oh, I want to say something. I don't want to go off topic. I don't want to sound silly." And then our brain kind of says, "Okay, shut down and let's back up and make sure you
Mm.
have everything."
Okay.
Um, so it's really just in degree and in how much how capable you feel of handling that situation. So
Mm.
if I'm attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, I definitely don't feel competent to handle that situation, and rightly so.
Yeah.
If there's some things I get anxious about that other people wouldn't. If I sing in public, I absolutely freeze. Other
Mhm.
people don't have a problem with that, partly because they feel competent at it, and singing is not something that I feel competent or confident in.
Yeah.
So really, it's the same, brain response, just panic attacks or trauma response. Panic attacks would be bigger or higher or more intense. Trauma response would be more repetitive. So
It's
if
more, perhaps, having this happen to a specific catalyst? Would that
Yeah,
be
mhm,
okay?
yeah. And again, that anxiety can be very individual. I can have anxiety over a stapler, depending on what's
Yeah.
happened in my life.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, but again, it's not a different process. It's just with a
Okay.
higher intensity of nervousness, our brain stops. I don't want to say stops thinking totally, but it really does stop thinking and goes back to reaction.
Mhm.
So in low level anxiety, we can still problem solve and think. In high level anxiety, part of the definition or part of the a quality of a panic attack is our brain is so intense on what's making us scared that we
Yeah.
can't problem solve anymore, which again is appropriate. If a saber-toothed tiger attacks me and I start problem solving,
Yeah.
where should I, which arm should I use? Should I use my spear? Should I use my club? I'm dead.
Right.
So it's very appropriate to have a panic attack in that situation.
Mhm.
But if I'm attacked by, again, like a dog running in front of my car, that's kind of mid-level. If I see I saw a spider this morning, had a little bit of a response. I'm not, and then I very quickly said, it's kind of spider season. It's far away from me. Spiders aren't dangerous, and
Mhm.
I could kind of control it very quickly. One way I describe it to people is um, sonar or radar.
Mm.
If you're I'll use sonar as an example. If your sonar is tuned too low, I don't know if tuned is the right word, but if it's set too low,
Yeah.
You don't see missiles coming at you. If
Right.
it's set too high, you see every fish, every piece of seaweed, and that also isn't helpful.
Right.
If it's set kind of in the middle where we see things that are big enough to be dangerous, but we don't really notice those little things,
Mhm.
that's the most helpful sonar. And if the sonar picks up something really big like a missile, again, we should have that extra strong response because we need to respond immediately.
Mhm.
So that's the symptoms of a panic attack are can be helpful if we're familiar with the situation or kind of know what to do. If a dog runs in front of my car, I kind of internally just know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Then that doesn't turn into a panic attack.
That's something that you said that was very reassuring because I'm in my mid-30s now, and I've experienced more of life than I used to, and
Uh-huh.
I've been realizing that my anxiety has gone from here to about here just over the span of years as I get
Yeah.
older.
Low to high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotten worse.
Yep.
Um, and I've been attributing a lot of that to the loss of hubris, the loss of my own arrogance, feeling like I
Mhm.
could tackle the world. I was
Mhm.
prepared for everything, and a lot of it
Mhm.
is that I am in situations where I do not have any experience. I don't know what
Mhm.
to do. I don't know what the best course or even what course options are available.
Mhm.
Um, and that absolutely contributes to feelings of anxiety and pressure and overwhelm.
Yeah. Yeah, the younger we are, the stupider we are. No, kind of true. But definitely the younger we are, the less experience we have. So we don't know the experience of running to the emergency room in an emergency. We don't know the experience of having a dog run in front of our car.
Yeah.
We don't know the experience of, paying bills or being behind in bills. We just
Mhm.
have never done those things before. And as you get older,
Yeah.
you realize how much you don't know, or you realize how much you're not prepared for.
I know part of my personal frustration with myself is that I am someone who thinks too much. And it as a kid, as a teen, as a young adult, I put myself through simulations in my brain of if I'm in
Mhm.
this situation, what am I going to do? Am I if
Uh-huh.
I'm in that situation? Which increased my feeling of preparedness,
Mhm.
but um didn't really help necessarily at the end of the day. It
And
did
again, that
because
yeah.
I knew I had thought it through, but, like so an example would be, I was positive as a young adult, as a teen, that if any man ever approached me sexually and I didn't want that I'd know exactly what to do. I would
Uh,
take care of it 100%. And then something did happen, and it wasn't even a major thing, but,
mhm.
somebody
You
touched me
didn't
when
know
I
what to
didn't
do.
wanna be
Mhm.
touched, and I had a
Mhm.
freeze response, and I'm like
Mhm.
and then I'm ashamed of myself because I froze, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "I knew what I wanted to do in that situation, I prepared for this, and
Mhm.
it never and I didn't behave the way I thought I would."
Mhm.
Um, which then feeds back into that anxiety because now I don't know if I can trust myself and blah, 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 blah.
Uh, and again, I think that's probably the pendulum swinging a bit too far.
Yeah.
But do you see how that planning, like what would happen if this, would I do if this happened? What would I, super helpful.
Mhm.
Doing it
Absolutely.
every minute about every single thing, not so helpful.
Yeah.
I,
Looking back, all of that pre-planning I did probably was still my anxiety, I just hadn't realized it. I was more confident in that anxiety then.
yeah. So it's a matter of degree. So I'm going to tell
Yeah.
three hopefully quick stories. Um, the one is I listened to an interview of one of the astronauts who landed on the moon. It was the 50th anniversary, maybe.
Mhm.
And I honestly can't remember. There were three astronauts. I don't remember which one it was,
Might have
but
been
I
Buzz,
do
he did a lot of
remember.
PR.
Did he?
Buzz
I
Aldrin.
do. Yeah, yeah. I do remember that two of them got to go walk on the moon, and one of them had to stay And I'm there like, boy, I would hate to be that person. You go to the moon, you can't even go outside. Anyway, that's beside the point. So during this interview, they were talking to, let's just say Buzz Aldrin, because um, I can't remember. Uh, they were interviewing him about kind of the preparation, and he said we had a plan uh, for if we went to the moon and brought back a bacteria or something that killed all life on Earth.
Mhm.
And the interview said NASA was worried that you might bring back something that would kill all life on Earth. And Buzz Aldrin kind of paused a minute and he went, well, no, but you should prepare for that.
Yeah,
So the worry wasn't high, but the stakes were high.
absolutely.
So yeah, so to make that plan doesn't necessarily have to bring with it the nervousness or anxiety of this might actually happen or this is likely to happen.
Mhm.
um, my next story, I just think is adorable. Someone I talked to was afraid of shark attack, not only in the ocean,
Mhm.
but in the swimming pool,
Mhm.
in the shower. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Um, but the first thing we did was we looked into like statistics of shark attack. And one statistic is most shark attacks happen within um, I don't know how long, quarter mile of the beach. Well,
Mhm.
that's because that's the only place people are.
Right.
People usually aren't 10 miles out in the ocean, so kind of looking at that, those facts, if fact giving doesn't lower that anxiety, and sometimes it does. I actually uh, talked to someone who was afraid of like bear attack, and we looked at the statistics. And
Mhm.
literally in the last 10 years, I think in the last like 25 years, there have been 2 fatal bear attacks, and that
Yeah.
lowered the anxiety. But the person who was afraid of sharks, I said, oh, you know what? This happened to me once. There was a truck that was transporting a shark in the back of the truck to get it to a different aquarium, and they drove past my house. They hit a skateboard ramp that some kids had built. They flew up. The truck tipped over. The shark fell through, flew through my window and bit my foot. And it was so over the board that her anxiety lowered.
Oh, okay.
So if the kind of reasonable preparation or statistics aren't helping,
Yeah.
if you kind of go overboard and say, you know what, uh, if 20 bears attack me, I can't think of anything silly. I'm going to use my magic invisibility skill, or if a
I'm
shark
gonna
flies
wave the
through
big
my
jar of
window.
honey around and distract them.
Ah, yes. Or I just thought, there's that joke, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun the person standing beside me. Yeah,
Right.
if bear attacks, I'll just pour honey on the person with me.
So it's funny that over dramatized um example does actually help. It reminds me
Mhm,
of if you've ever watched the 80s, 90s kid flicks, whenever there's the worrisome kid and he goes, "Wait, but what if something happens?" and everybody treats
mhm,
him with sarcasm and hyperbole.
mm,
And
mhm,
usually it's in a degrading way, but it can
mhm,
actually be used in a healthy way of yes, and then the
mhm,
aliens will come and it'll all go to
mhm,
it'll all be destroyed.
mhm. Yeah,
It's something I know I've used with my nieces and nephews when they're freaking out about something really little. And it's like, well, then we're all gonna fall apart.
yeah. Mhm.
And then they laugh and they giggle and it gets us past it.
Mhm. The something my brothers used to do if I was afraid of, something little like a snake or a dog or something, they'd say, "Don't worry about it. The alligator will eat it."
Right.
They're like,
Yep.
"What? There are alligators?" Clearly not in suburban Pittsburgh, but
Right.
it got my uh, it got me to release that fear.
Yeah.
And a lot of times just information, explanation, like statistics will
Mhm.
help. If that doesn't help, then kind of go into that hyperbole, that exaggeration will.
Mhm.
The Another thing I want to say about anxiety is if you try to push it away, it kind of fights back.
Yes.
So so here's what I imagine my brain saying. Oh, I'm scared, that I'm gonna, fall off this cliff. Oh, I shouldn't worry about that. And then the anxiety in my brain says, what? Yes, you should. No, no, I shouldn't. Yes, you should. So,
Yeah. Yep.
the kind of weird part or not intuitive part of anxiety is you push it away, it tends to come back stronger. And I think of it too like chasing a cat. You
Mhm.
can't do it. You
Yeah.
chase a cat, it goes farther away. You fight anxiety, it just gets bigger and bigger.
My
Um,
personal example is in the grocery store. If I'm trying not to worry about the fact that I might possibly maybe be in somebody's way, because that's
mhm,
always my stress in the grocery stores. I always feel like I'm blocking somebody from something. It doesn't matter where I
uh-huh,
am.
uh-huh,
And I'm like, but I might be in their way. And then I reassure myself with, it's okay. I'm allowed to take up space and I need to be right
uh-huh,
here and I will move in a minute. But
mhm,
what if I'm still in their way? What if they
mhm,
follow me through this whole grocery store? And it just kind of
mhm,
compounds. Absolutely.
mhm.
It's definitely a
Yeah,
worry.
because you'd be standing in the way of life-saving medicine.
Right?
Teasing,
They really need those scalloped potatoes.
Mhm. And for someone, I think everybody has experienced this, for someone going grocery shopping and someone standing in front of the milk going, I don't know what I want. And you're there like, just move away.
Right.
I kind of like I'm glad that you're a little bit anxious about that,
Oh, good.
but not as much as you seem to be, you know?
I'm
So,
very aware of the space I take up.
yeah, which is good. I wish everybody in the grocery store was a little more aware of the space they take up. And that's where like scaling it can be real helpful. And you
Hmm.
can say my anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10, my anxiety is at a 4. In the actual situation, it's a kind of a 1 situation. Or my anxiety is at a 9, and in reality, it's a 3 situation.
Yeah.
And kind of then trying to um, merge those. And there are 100% times when your anxiety is at a 2 and it should be at a 7, you know.
Yes.
It's,
I have a funny story about that. And this actually has to do with being prepared for it. As
mhm,
I used to work in medical records at a clinic, and
mhm,
the drug reps would come through and they'd bring food for everybody so that they could talk to the doctors about the different
yeah,
pharmaceuticals that they were working on
uh-huh,
or promoting. And they had one of those little gel burners under the
oh,
foil
uh-huh,
dish,
uh-huh,
and it tipped on its side. And it's a gel; it doesn't pour out, but this
mhm,
fire is now not contained as well. And
yeah,
the pharmaceutical rep starts to get really stressed, and I just look at it and go, "Oh!" And she's like, "No, where's the fire extinguisher?" And I just went
uh-huh,
over and grabbed the jar and turned it right side up. And she kind of
mhm,
looks at me like I'm insane because I didn't stress
mhm,
out, I didn't freak out.
mhm,
My anxiety was at like a 1, and hers was at like a
mhm,
12.
right. And again, the situation, unmonitored fire,
Mm-hmm.
uh, if you're, smoking cigarettes in dry grass, it should be
Yeah.
that situation warrants an 8, and you should
Mm-hmm.
probably be a 9 or a 10. In that situation, it was maybe a 2, and
Mm-hmm.
you responded more like it was a 2, and
Mm-hmm.
she responded more like it was a 6. And her looking at you like she's crazy, probably let her know, hold on. I doubt she kept thinking you were crazy. She probably did at some point go, oh, I'm kind of overreacting.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
hope so for her own
Maybe
sake.
not. Yeah. And again, so yeah, the more accurate you can be in having your emotions match the situation,
Yeah.
um, that'll help with anxiety, and also it's not actually pushing anxiety away or blocking anxiety. It's just saying, hey, can you quiet down a little bit? I
Yeah.
don't want you to go away. You're helping me, but you don't need to be that loud. I got the message. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think of new drivers, right?
Mhm.
There are new drivers. Like, let's just say driving, you should be worried at a 5. And
Yeah.
then you get some new drivers who are worried at a 9, and they
Yep.
put on the brakes 2 miles before they get to the stop sign, or I'm exaggerating,
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
course, but they're like, they drive really slow and they're looking everywhere, and they're like, oh, did I adjust my mirror? What if? And then you have these other drivers who have way too little anxiety,
Yeah.
and they just learn to drive, and they're like, I can do anything, and then they get into a car wreck. So
Mhm.
both of those, probably because of lack of experience, are kind of off.
Yeah.
If both of those get back to the 5, which after more experience in driving, most of us do,
Yep.
we hopefully feel I shouldn't be talking on my cell phone while driving, but also feel like I don't have to be hyper vigilant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I was thinking about, I was gonna make a snarky. I was gonna say, well, and then you get in a car crash, and then you have to re-get back to that level of 5 again
Uh-huh.
because now you're hypervigilant again.
Yeah. And actually
Speaking from
that's not,
experience.
yeah, I don't think that's snarky or misleading at all. And that's very common. If we get into a situation, then our brain is kind of more aware of that.
Yeah.
And again, that's when you make an evaluation. Was I actually worrying enough?
Mhm.
Or, oh, I was worrying enough. And then that anxiety will slowly go away. But if you say, I shouldn't be anxious about that, I was wrong to be upset about that, or, these
Right.
car accidents just happen when they happen. No, you want to do that little bit of evaluation.
Absolutely.
Should I have been paying more attention? And then if you should feel anxious until you make that decision to pay a little more attention. And if it was one of those just odd things and there wasn't anything you could do, you just say, okay, anxiety, you're getting a little too high. Let's come back.
Mhm.
Let's come back to the right level. So yeah, I don't think I think that's exactly the way our brains should be working.
Fair.
The other thing, or the other way that a lot of people try to lower anxiety, is to say, that'll never happen.
Right.
And again, our anxiety is going to say, but it might.
Yep.
Um, when I talk to kids, I use this example, and I haven't had a kid who doesn't understand it because it involves candy.
Mhm.
Um, so I actually say, have your parent buy you a bag of M&Ms. I do check with the parent first if the kid can eat sugar or whatever.
Right.
And then I say, so go home with the bag of M&Ms and pick out one M&M. And let's say it's yellow. And then go in and pick out a second M&M. What's the likelihood that that second M&M is also going to be yellow? It's like, there is a chance. It's unlikely, but we wouldn't say that could never happen.
Mhm.
And then I say, okay, if it is yellow, what's the chance that the third M&M you pick out would also be yellow? And they understand, oh, that's not very likely at all. Okay, you
Yeah.
pick out 20 M&Ms. What are the chances they're all the same color if you don't run out of M&Ms?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, they're so if you say, especially to a child who doesn't have that life experience, our house isn't going to burn down.
Mhm.
They don't believe you because they know houses burn down.
Right.
But if you say that's a 15 M&M chance, you know, they
Yeah.
get that, and again, saying don't worry about that,
Mhm.
especially with kids, they don't have enough information or experience to know how much to worry about that. But if you say, it's a 2 M&M likelihood,
Yeah.
are you gonna, trip up the stairs at one point in your life? Yeah, probably. Uh, is your house gonna burn down? Yeah, it's a 15 M&M thing. Are you going to, be attacked, by,
A shark?
yeah, a shark on dry land? Okay, that's 100 M&M chance. Like, are you gonna be attacked by a shark in the water? And if they say that's a 2 M&M, you can say, "No, actually, it's like a 17 M&M."
Mhm.
And it doesn't really matter the number of M&Ms, it's just small, medium, big. But
No,
if
but
you say yeah,
that's a really good, tool because it gives you a physical description of the likelihood, something
mhm,
that they can see, something they can touch, something they can feel, and it gives
concrete, yeah,
you thank you, that was the word, concrete.
mhm,
And, it also gives you a language
mhm,
framework to talk about the problem, which I
yeah,
really love because sometimes that's the hard part of putting things in perspective. I have the
yeah,
kind of brain that numbers, if you just throw numbers at me, they don't really mean
mhm,
anything. Oh, well, that's a
mhm,
52% chance. That's a
mhm,
30% chance. But
mhm,
your example of the M&Ms is,
mhm,
like I say, that's concrete, that's tactile. I can picture that.
yeah. And also, I do M&Ms on purpose because it is candy, it makes a bigger impression than if I
Yeah.
said you have a bag of, vegetables. I don't know what are the
Yeah.
chances that, just that it's candy is just gonna make it sink in a little more. Yeah.
It's an interesting
Um,
topic for those of us who like
the
candy.
it it works really well. Um, and again, if you say to a child, "Don't worry about getting, a shark attacking you," that's just not gonna happen. They
Yeah.
don't believe you, and they quite honestly shouldn't believe you. There is a chance that might happen.
Right.
But if you say, that's a 25 M&M chance, um, their anxiety can go down because they know how much to worry about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, kind of the last thing I want to talk about anxiety,
Mhm.
kind of building off of what I just said, that kids know there is a chance of getting eaten by a shark. Um, so again, we don't say, don't worry about that. We say this is about how much you should worry about that.
Yeah.
Um, that anxiety um, isn't the issue. I think everybody's probably worried at some point about being eaten by a shark. It's not an uncommon worry.
No, not
It's
really.
just that, yeah, most people have that worry and then go like, that's not really worry. And they kind of push that worry back.
Mhm.
So this is not at all physically accurate, but it's a helpful way to think of anxiety is that we have the front part of our brain that does problem solving and thinking and calculus and language, just does all those things that humans can do that most animals can't really do.
Right.
And then we have the back part of our brain, which holds memories and holds feelings kind of until we kind of need them. And then it brings those anxieties or memories or feelings up to the front of our brain.
Mhm.
And like you said about a car accident, they kind of stay up in the front of our brain until we kind of evaluate them. And then they'll kind of go back home to the back part of our brain.
Yeah.
And so here's my question, Anna.
Mhm.
What was the name of your first grade teacher?
Mom. I
I
was
forgot
homeschooled.
about that. What did you have for breakfast yesterday morning? What did you have for breakfast yesterday morning?
I'm trying to think.
Hmm.
I think yogurt. I think that's yogurt and coffee. I think that's what I had.
Okay, so for both of those, or for people who weren't homeschooled, they can bring up that memory of the name of their first grade teacher, and it'll stay in the front of their brain for a day or two, an hour or two, and then it'll go back to the back part of their brain. So if somebody asks them the next year, what's the name of your first grade teacher? They again have to pause and think and kind of drag that out of the back part of their brain into the front part of their brain.
Yeah.
Um, and again, what I had for breakfast yesterday, I'd have to think about too. Yeah, it would take me a minute. Oh, I had eggs with onions in
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
Again, I had to pull that out of the back of my brain into the front of my brain to remember. And I'm going to remember it because our brain kind of goes like, is that something to worry about or not? Or is that something we need to keep in the front of our brain or not?
Yeah.
How to drive, we need to keep in the front of our brain, especially when we're driving.
Yeah.
But how to make macaroni and cheese, we don't need to keep that in the front of our brain until we need to make macaroni and cheese.
True.
So that part of our brain holds those memories. We can pull them up. Might take a little while, and then they kind of slowly fade back to the back of our brain.
Right.
Same thing with um, feelings or anxieties. So, like you said, you're in a car accident, then that does pull up to the front of your brain. And for a day or a week, you're
Yeah.
really nervous driving.
Yep.
But the front of our brain is the part of our brain that can do logic and evaluation. So,
Mm.
but it takes a little while to do that. So the front of our brain kind of says, okay, let me think about the statistics. Let me think about how good a driver I am. Let me think about if I need to pay better attention or if I was paying enough attention. And then as it makes that uh, evaluation, that fear kind of slips back to the back part of our brain.
Right.
Is that making sense?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. So for people with anxiety, I truly believe that nobody has a unique anxiety. The things we are afraid of or anxious about are not the problem.
Okay.
The problem is that people with anxiety have a harder time pushing that anxiety back to the back of their brain.
Hmm.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So if you're driving and all of a sudden you get behind an armored car, do you
Hmm.
think, I kind of wish $1 million bag of money would fall out of that armored car?
No.
My guess is you probably do, but push it way back. Have you ever thought about what you would do if you won the lottery?
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, most people have. Most people pull it to the front of their brain, do a real quick evaluation. Yeah, that's not going to happen. And then it goes back to the back of their brain. Same things with other fields. Uh, um, I think everybody has had the thought of, if I turned invisible and could go to the store, what would I put in my shopping cart? If Bruce Springsteen saw me on the street, would he marry me? Sorry, that was mine as a teenager. What would it be like to be married to Bruce Springsteen? Uh, those kind of things, everybody has
Hmm.
those kinds of thoughts.
Yeah.
It's just people without anxiety push them back really quickly.
Hmm.
And people with anxiety, the process of pushing them back is much more difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of uh, uh, a person who hasn't thought, what if, like if when you're a kid, I think every kid has thought, yeah, I hope the school burns down and then I wouldn't have to take that test.
Right.
And
Yeah.
again, most kids push that back and don't set fire to their school,
Indeed.
uh, or I wish I could learn this thing without studying, or, oh my goodness, that house is beautiful. I wish I could afford it,
Yep.
or what would it be like to live there? And
Hmm.
again, if I can't afford it, I kind of say, oh, that would be cool. And then I kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would have a hard time convincing me that that anybody has had a unique fear or a unique anxiety or a unique dream, even.
Mhm.
Again, with some variations,
Sure. But the driving
yeah.
forces behind them are all very human and very normal.
hmm
Absolutely.
And again, most people have this, I don't know, conveyor belt or whatever, where the
Right.
anxiety and the memory
Mhm.
um, kind of goes back to the back of our brain where kind of it belongs.
Yeah.
So
Tangent
it,
back to the armored car
yeah, yeah,
because it tickled my brain. When you
uh
said if you when you're driving behind an armored car, what my initial reaction was, "Oh god, I don't wanna drive too close to them or they'll think I'm trying to steal something," and, "Oh no, what if they have to brake
yeah,
quickly? That's gonna hurt a lot worse than another truck." So it
yep,
wasn't I didn't even care about the money. It was, "This is a
hmm
large armored vehicle. How does this affect
hmm
me?"
But the
So,
first thing you said is, what if they think I'm trying to steal a
that's fair.
million
That
dollars? And in
does have
order
to
to
do
think
with the
that, yeah, you
Yeah,
think, what if I bet there's $1 million in there, what
that's
would it be
fair.
like? And for me, it's what would I buy? And for you is, oh no, I'll go to jail, whatever.
I've watched too
But
many cop shows.
and I've watched too many shows where like that something like that happened, and
Right,
it's like,
right.
oh, wouldn't that be nice? And somebody married Bruce Springsteen. He missed his
Yeah,
chance with me. And again,
man.
with celebrities, most people, it may not be Bruce Springsteen, and it may not even be marriage, but there's some of that. Oh man, if so and so said hi to me, or if
Mhm.
I could sing a song with, sorry, all my references are way too old. So
No,
Taylor
they're
Swift, I'll say.
pertinent to you.
They're pertinent to me. I was going to say Tom Petty,
There you
but
go.
I'll change,
Hey,
or
he was
what would
a
it be like, what would it be like if Taylor Swift asked me to sing with her, or,
Mhm.
or wrote a song about me? Everybody kind of can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So then the way to manage anxiety, besides everything we've talked about, like kind of scaling it, recognizing the importance of it, not pushing it all the way back, or not saying this is never going to happen. Um, the kind of doing an evaluation of how likely that is, or how much you have to prepare, uh, is trying to ask yourself, where in my brain does this thought or this fear belong?
Mm.
So if I go back to Buzz Aldrin saying, yeah, we prepared for that, the eventuality, the possibility of
Mhm.
killing all life on Earth, and then he kind of pushed it to the back of his brain. Uh, uh, so much so that when the interviewer said, "Oh my goodness, you guys were scared of that?" He went, "Um, no." you know. So he had
Right.
pushed that to its proper place. Yeah,
Mhm.
technically that could happen. We've taken so many precautions, and these kind of precautions, that the likelihood,
Right.
I'm not worried about. That worry goes to the back of my brain, not the front of my brain.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
the a lot of times people have anxiety about their anxiety. Like they say, "Am I
Yeah,
crazy? I'm worrying about this," or "How come other people aren't scared of this when I am?"
right.
Everybody's scared of it. Everybody's excited about it. They just have the ability to push it back to the back of their brain more quickly. Um,
So, physiologically, or I guess
mhm.
maybe not even physiologically, what is the difference? Why do some people struggle with this more than others?
I I don't know.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it is simply some people are taller than others. Some people
Okay.
are night owls. Some people are early birds. And actually, now that I say that out loud, it probably was because everybody, in the cave, when we were all living in caves, when we
Mhm.
lived together, we did need a couple of people to say, oh no, what if? Oh no, what if? Oh no, what if? And we
Mhm.
also needed some people who said, you know what, let's calm down and let's sing around the campfire, which is why people have different sleep patterns. Someone had to
Right.
be awake at all times. So some people are night owls, some people are early birds, because we needed all types.
Mhm.
So that's my best guess, but truly, I don't
Okay.
know. In visualization usually helps in pushing those things to the back of our brains. And I talk to people about things like, conveyor belts or magnets or some way to get that to the back of the brain. And I also talk to people about like some sort of barrier, like a wall, a screen, a force field that kind of
Mm.
keeps the things to the back of their brain that really belong in the back of their brain. I always make a way for things to get pulled forward because you don't want to never have anxiety. Like, so the brick wall has a archway in it or a brick
Mhm.
that gets removed, and the screen has a slit in it, and the force field you can turn off, whatever. So there, you don't want to block that anxiety from ever coming to the front of your brain.
Hmm.
Just kind of like sonar or radar, just kind of turn it down a little bit, or if it beeps, look, and oh, that's not actually an important thing to worry about, so I don't have to pay attention to that.
When you were saying this time, when you were saying push it to the back of your brain, the image that came to my mind was a laundry chute that I just threw it down and it went zoop down
Love
to the
it.
laundry room.
Uh-huh.
Then I
Yeah.
can sort it and wash it and put it where it belongs.
Uh-huh. I gosh, someone told me, and I think it was the movie, I always forget the names, the movies with the cartoon emotions. And they just
Oh,
came out with this.
Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside Out too, where I haven't watched that yet, but they said to me that with anxiety, I can't remember what they did. Oh, they put it in a comfortable armchair, I think.
Mm,
So they didn't say anxiety go away. They said anxiety, sit down, relax. I'll call you when I need you.
mm.
Uh, and again, I can't
Nice.
remember if it was a comfy armchair or not.
A beanbag, something.
Yeah, why not? Or let it go swimming, or put it in a box full of puppies. Keep it busy. We'll call you when we need you.
We'll have to do a dissection of those movies eventually. I haven't seen the second one either, but that would be fun to do on this channel just to talk about how it breaks down mental health and mental health care. The first one did a really decent job of talking about that and about life
Yeah, and
events
I
and how
hated
it
the
can.
first one.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh, now this will be a fun
because
conversation.
it didn't have um, uh, that part that said,
Hmm.
and sometimes these are super helpful and super good.
Right.
It kind of had, to me, just a little bit too negative. Like, we kind of sometimes have to feel angry, but really we want to feel happy, or we sometimes need to feel anxious. But,
Ah, but that was the whole point
you
of the
didn't see
movie
it
is
that
that
way. Hmm.
well, the whole point at the end was that they had to let her be sad. So sadness
Hmm.
had to take the wheel for a while, which is
And
one of those things that we're not
yeah,
supposed to feel.
right. And I think they didn't do that so much with anger or fear. I can't remember
Or
which.
envy.
And I will also tell you, I love the idea you just came up with, because I have such a strong reaction to therapists in movies. I can watch a movie. Yeah, I can watch a movie
Yep.
with something else, and at the end of the movie, I'm there like, that therapist broke this rule and gave the wrong medication and should have said this, and was wearing way too short a skirt. And whoever watched the movie with said, there was a therapist in that movie. So I am super, super sensitive, which I should be. So
Right.
actually, so that's the other thing. I should actually be frustrated and anxious and worried and have all those emotions about
Yeah.
the portrayal of therapists, because
Mhm.
I'm a therapist and I want to be a good therapist. So when I see something, I should, say, oh, gosh, you know what, that, what are people going to think of therapists who whatever, break this boundary. A lot of therapists in movie break the confidentiality. It's like, oh, you have a
Yeah.
problem. Let me go talk to your neighbor, mother, brother, teacher about that. And it's like,
Yep.
No. And again, the other person can say, I didn't realize there was a therapist in that movie. You know.
Yep.
Actually, I do want to say one other thing about anxiety that I just remembered right now,
Okay.
and that is, a lot of times people will have a strategy for managing anxiety that works really well, and then it stops working, and they say, "Ugh, I failed." By nature, by the nature of anxiety, anxiety will fight back. So
Mhm.
if that happens, it just means switch strategies, and that new strategy will work for 6 months
Yeah.
until anxiety kind of goes like, no, I need to sneak into the front of your brain, and then switch back to the other strategy or a new strategy. By nature of anxiety, I don't think I'm saying that right. It will sneak its way around just about any intervention. That doesn't mean your intervention is wrong. That doesn't mean you've lost that skill. It just means it tries to sneak around.
It's adaptive.
Yeah.
The entire point of the survival instinct is to be adaptive too, and so
Hmm.
that absolutely makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
and you're right, it should not be a point of shame
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
or failure for you. That's
Hmm.
actually something that I've got several plugs to make here. Let me cross all my
Uh-huh.
fingers. So that was something that we pointed out when we were talking about specifically panic attacks. Is that it's good
Uh-huh.
to have a full arsenal of
Hmm.
tools to use, a full toolbox to use that you can cycle through them all when you are struggling with your anxiety, because you are naturally going to adapt to your
Hmm.
coping mechanisms over time and
Yeah.
in specific instances. So that
Hmm.
was one thing. Your M&Ms, these are shameless plugs for things that we have. Your M&Ms
Uh-huh.
tactic for children
Uh-huh.
is actually on a flyer that we have, a handout
Uh,
for parents and teachers and counselors that's called Over and Above Fear, and it has two or three different tactics to help you help your child when they're struggling with fear. So
yeah. So
definitely check that out.
you're
I'm
plugging
plugging
me.
our products. Yes.
And I didn't even remember that. So thank you.
No, this was something that you made, and we have
Uh,
out there on upandupwellness.com. It's Over
I
and Above
remember
Fear.
now. I
Yeah.
remember now, but it was in the back of my brain. Now it's in the front of my brain, and it'll take me a couple of days for it to sink back to the back of my brain
See?
till I
There
forget
we
it again.
go. I think the other things that we have are because again, we're trying to make this accessible, easy, simple,
Uh-huh.
and where it's applicable, we want this to be fun. We want you to
Hmm.
enjoy being healthy.
Hmm.
So we also have bingo sheets and cootie catchers, moody
Mm.
catchers is what we call them,
Hmm.
specifically for anxiety and depression and self-care.
Hmm.
Um, and the whole point of these is they're a tool that you can use to help yourself when you're feeling stuck in how to move forward in your journey. If you're just stuck in a moment, then you play bingo and say, what can I do for myself today to help me get out of this spot? So, those are some of the tangible tools that we've made to kind of
Yeah.
help everybody.
And again, that fun part of it definitely lowers anxiety and shame and
Mhm.
all those things that sometimes get in the way. And also because it's fun, just like the M&M example is better than I can't think of a bag of vegetables, but something not fun. Eh, Playing bingo with different strategies to manage anxiety is going to be way better than having a list. Because
Absolutely.
our brain kind of goes like, oh, this is fun. This is a game. If I fail, no big deal. I
Yeah.
do it again. If I roll the dice and I don't get here, it's no big deal. So it
Yep.
imparts that kind of feeling. And it also imparts um, this is, it, this is a manageable thing, not just a
Definitely.
fun thing. It's, and not just something that I don't need to feel bad about, but uh, lists tend to make us think, oh, I have to cross everything out. If you play
Yes.
bingo and you don't get bingo, who cares?
If your OCD is in just the right spot, you just keep playing blackout until everything's filled in. It's good.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
So, thanks for listening about anxiety. I hope that's given you some different ways to think about anxiety and has helped you lower your anxiety about anxiety.
Absolutely. Tune in next time. We'll be talking more about mental health, depression, anxiety. We've got a few really cool topics coming up. I have a whole list.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime,
Probably
check out. Go ahead.
way too many.
Probably way too many. There's never too many.
Uh-huh.
We could talk
Yeah.
for hours. It'll be great.
Could talk forever. Yeah. Mental health
Um,
issues aren't going to go away.
do check out our resources on upandupwellness.com. We have a variety of options out there for you. Big things, little things, just stuff to try and make it more accessible, more helpful, and more fun.
Yeah.
We'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
For more resources, shop at www.upandupwellness.com and hit that subscribe button. If you are in crisis and struggling right now, the national hotline is 988 and they can help you any time of the day or night.